What's up, Sorcs? So I got a really awesome build for you guys today. This is going to be one of the top tier builds in the game, and it's going to be a Frozen Orb / Lightning Spear Sorc. And this build variant is going to actually be able to give you 100% uptime on your IceArmor, which will also give you 100% uptime on Unstoppable, which will also give you 100% uptime on your Storm Swell. And it will also have infinite mana. Mana will not be a problem. Sometimes it will dip down because you're using some skills, but there is a Tormented Duriel, and then we'll also go ahead and move on to the Infernal Hordes mode. So for starters, what makes this build brand new and different for Season 5? So one of the newer things that a lot of people are playing around with right now is the Splintering Energy. And a lot of times people will just opt out to never even bother with specifically Frozen Orb as a source of damage. You can actually get a lot of bonus damage with Frozen Orb, and you can actually do a lot of high tier content, even doing the Nightmare Dungeon 100 without even running this aspect. I could just completely remove this aspect, and with just Frozen Orb alone, I'm able to do stuff. But this is essentially what a lot of people are using for their main source of damage. So critical hits with Lightning Spear is going to cause this lightning to arc from it, and it deals some set amount of damage. And it's increased by your critical strike damage bonus. So the more crit strike damage you get, well, the more damage you're going to be getting. So that's like the main area of our damage, but Frozen Orb can solo carry on its own. It just mixes up two of them to be even more powerful. And so for starters, that's like the main new thing that we have as far as like something to play around with. The rest of the stuff is just like, well, we got a buff to Fractured Winterglass, and Frozen Orb technically got some buffs a while back, but that's like the main newer thing over here. So for starters, let's go over the skills, then we'll hop into the gear as well as the aspects, and then skill tree and Paragon board. So for starters, in terms of the skills and how we use them, we use IceArmor. IceArmor has no animation, so you can be holding down the whole time Frozen Orb, and then just tap on your IceArmor, and then go back to holding down your button for your Frozen Orb, which makes it really, really powerful because IceArmor will also grant us Unstoppable with the newer aspect called the Snow Veil, which will also grant us damage reduction. So we are immune to all crowd control effects. No longer will we be affected by anything, which makes this build so good. Just watch the cooldown. So you can see where it's in the first skill, 2-1, boom, activated again. And again, we have extra damage reduction. Storm Soul will be up 100% of the time, and again, Unstoppable just makes the whole gameplay experience of Diablo 4 feel so much easier. It almost feels like I'm playing Diablo 3, where I'm just activating, like, Wrath of the Berserker or whatever, like, special ability for the Sorc you had, like, Archon mode. So you're just immune to all crowd control, which really makes the game just, again, super easy. So activate this, you keep it up the whole time. And then you use Frozen Orb to deal damage. And then we have Flame Shield. It's just an extra thing. If you want to run it, you can. If you want to run something else, by all means, it's fine. Next up, we have Ice Blades as well as Lightning Spear. So these I only activate in between the start of a wave, because what happens is all our little conjurations go away and we respawn them at the start, so we can start ramping up our damage a little bit faster, but it doesn't matter. I very rarely even push these. Again, it's only when like the boss goes into like a phase where it disappears, I'll just push them because there's nothing to do, and also will give us extra mana regen for more conjurations, also more damage, and they can activate the Frozen Orbs from Winterglass. And then Teleport because, well, it's a sorcerer's build. And then for enchants, we're running Firebolt as well as Frozen Orb. So it's going to be more Frozen Orbs because that actually does deal damage, plus it does spawn in our Lightning Spear. And so as far as it goes, I've seen some people talk about running Crackling Energy Lightning Spear in this variant of the build. You can also run Ice Blades to get more cooldown, so you can get more Lightning Spears. Unfortunately, the way I see it is this is just way better because it's a lot smoother for the gameplay. You also have the Frozen Orbs shooting out, and when they pop, they will actually spawn in with Fractured Winterglass those additional conjurations, which will then potentially be Lightning Spear. It's a 1 out of 3 in terms of the RNG chance, but it is still overall much more worth it because remember, each one that you shoot out will pop 2 times, and if you upgrade your Winterglass as well as getting on your weapon, the chance for Frozen Orb projectiles to cast twice, plus you have this, and this can actually activate multiple times even off of your other like chance for Frozen Orb projectiles to cast twice. It works off this because sometimes I'll teleport and I'll shoot out 2 Frozen Orbs, and the only way it would do it is via this activating twice, which works with this, which is crazy because yeah, it's just any of your skills. Well, it says when you have Frozen Orb projectiles to cast twice. A lot of times it'll say like when you cast a something, it will activate twice, but yeah, you're just getting it twice off of whatever. And then this over here is a non-basic, so pretty much anything that you're using is going to activate it, which gives you additional ones off of IceArmor, and you can just spam Flame Shield if you want to, because again, these have no animations, which is great. And that's why I don't spam these, because these have like a cast animation. You can also teleport around, makes the build feel really good, plus you get more Frozen Orbs. And so each one, let's say we shoot out two of them technically pops 2 times each, which means that there is going to be 4. And at Fractured Winterglass, depending on the roll that you get, you have up to a 65% chance of spawn in. That's on a non-lucky hit, so you don't even have to really scale lucky hit. The chances of them spawning more Frozen Orbs, cool, that's great because it does damage in this variant, but the main thing is that you're getting 4 chances of spawning in a Lightning Spear, which is pretty good, because again, it's technically random, but you are 1 out of 3 chances of getting one, but there's 4 activations. So hopefully that kind of makes sense as far as the math goes. That's why I prefer this build. It's just way smoother. So as far as our gear and aspects, so starting off, we're running Harlequin. If you don't happen to have one, the main thing that you need for this build, by the way, to get it up and running, you need Fractured Winterglass. It's definitely a endgame build. If you need a leveling build, I'll have one linked down below that will explain more stuff as you're leveling up. Arc Lash, Fireball, those are all much better for leveling. This is more like an endgame build for more so min-maxing, but you can start playing it as soon as you start getting your aspects for Frozen Orb. You can get that alone, and this build will start to function. But as far as our gear goes, Harlequin Crest is going to be best in slot over here. And then we're going to be running Tyraels to solve all resistances, plus it's just one of the best things in the game. But if you don't have it, you can get a defensive like IceArmor Duration. That's also a really great one. And then you can run Everliving, or any other defensive aspect can be great in the chest piece. And then next up, we're running a Frozen Orbit. So there's a lot of flex here. You can run attack speed, or you can run ranks to Frozen Orb. I prefer attack speed because that means Frozen Orb damage, and more spamming equals more Lightning Spears. And then crit strike chance and crit damage. You want to stack as much crit damage as possible, as that is our huge source of damage in this build. And then we're also going to temper on critical strike damage on everything. And then also with utility, we're going to be running Barrier, because we're already going to get this stun, as well as the freeze from Frozen Orb, as well as Lightning Spear. So getting Barrier generation, because this is up. I mean, watch our shield. It literally never goes away. Now, I'm going to keep expectations realistic. You cannot sit there and tank all of the Lilith Blood Waves. That's not the goal of this build. You're going to have to move out of certain things, but for the most part, you're almost unkillable. Again, the main thing is that you're 100% unstoppable, which makes the gameplay feel way better, which is, of course, with Still Veiled. So you're just looking for like int, max life. You can get armor if you don't happen to have Harlequin. That's why I left the other one blank. It's kind of up to you. You can also get dodge. That's another like decent stat that you can go for. And then we're running Asu's Heirloom. Crit is important for this build. If the Lightning Spear doesn't crit, it doesn't do any like damage, like realistic damage. So that's why you want to run Asu's, and it also rolls critical strike damage on boots, which makes it super excellent for our build. And then Splintering Energy, which we already talked about. So over here, you will be able to have the aspect. If you want to make this a Frozen Orb build, I'm going to make a separate video because some of the stuff is kind of different here. But Splintering Energy is going to be our extra source of damage. Again, Frozen Orb does enough damage on its own to kill most of the trash, and that way Lightning Spear can hit like the main important targets. But this thing is still pretty good. It does a decent amount of damage over here. And then Winterglass is in like every Frozen Orb build, and with Lightning Spear, that's how we're popping the Frozen Orbs. Now, the reason why I actually prefer running this is you also get the chance for Frozen Orb projectiles to cast twice, which is good. If you want to get a greater affix on any of the things, Conjuration Mastery is really good, as well as chance for Frozen Orb. The non-physical damage is okay, but it's just additive damage. And then we're also running Storm Swell because it's really good, just gives you more damage, and you're going to have it up the whole time that you're playing. And you definitely want to try to get crit strike chance as well as damage. Eventually, once you're crit, like if you get godly rolls, like you get multiple master workings here, and you get like really good movement speed, so you have 100% crit, you can drop the Storm Spell for all Talrashas. But if you don't happen to have crit strike chance at like 90 plus, I think it's much better just to get crit like chance and then double crit strike damage, and then you get basically half of Talrashas over here, unless you want a snapshot, which can work inside the Infernal Hordes. I'll make a dedicated video towards snapshotting because that's kind of a more advanced tactic. And then also Ring of the Starless Skies for a resource cost reduction, plus we're also getting crit on it. It's great. And then also core skills will work because we actually do really good damage with Frozen Orb. And then as far as gems goes, well, it's going to be emeralds, rubies, and then skulls, just like every single build pretty much in the game. And then as far as the skill tree goes, I'll make this a little bit bigger over here. but we are going to be using Fire Bolt in the very beginning. We just need 1 point into Fire Bolt, and the other skill, it doesn't matter what you put in. You just have to progress your tree. And then Frozen Orb, we're going to be running Destructive for more mana. So even though our mana might drop really hard, it'll go right back up, because what happens is you're going to get all these little Conjurations, and Conjuration Mastery is going to give you extra regen for it, so it's really good for that. And then we're also going to be getting Glass Cannon. It's going to be 5 ranks into IceArmor. It just shows 1 right here because, of course, Harlequin doesn't register inside of the build planner. But we're also going to be getting Shimmering. This is how we get the cooldown reduction of IceArmor to be even farther here, and that's going to allow us to 100% uptime on IceArmor, which again will give us Unstoppable with the brand new Snow Veil. And then we're getting extra damage reduction over here, getting some extra mana. We can also, there's kind of some options here as far as what we can run. So if you really want to run Lucky Hit Chance, that is optional. It can give you those other chances. You can also go for Teleport. I think Teleport would be a better option, but if you're really suffering in the like resource department, getting those additional like things to kind of spawn in can kind of help. It's up to you on what you want to go for, but this would be more damage. This is more survivability, but also giving you movement speed technically gives you more crit, so it can be extra damage as well, but this is going to give you more damage reduction. Again, choose whatever one that you want. I would recommend going for this, but if you want more damage, this is another option. And then with Ice Blades, we're going to get extra cooldown reduction here. It's not really needed for this one, to be honest. I mean, if you want to save some points, you can remove 3 points here, and then you can just put it into Teleport if you want to, like way more points in Teleport, so you can go even faster. And then over here, we're going to be running the Conjuration Mastery, and then Inner Flames, Devouring Blaze, kind of like the bread and butter of the Sorc, and then Permafrost as well as Hoarfrost. Hoarfrost is really great. If you want to drop, again, these over here, you can't drop Lightning Spear, by the way. The reason why you can't drop it is our source of vulnerability with the build, because how it works is if it does crit, it's going to apply vulnerability. So you cannot drop this one over here. As far as, well, you need to like, you don't have to necessarily cast it like manually, but if you wanted to, I guess you could drop the 3 points here because it's just gonna like work on its own, but it is our source of vulnerability in the build. But when you cast Lightning Spear, it will have a chance to spawn an additional spear and increase the critical strike chance. So I still think it's worth investing into like the points here, and then there's the stun here. But if you really wanted to, I would probably not suggest it. And then you could get even more damage. But these 2 nodes over here only work specifically with cold damage. They don't work with all damage. Whereas this one, this is just increased damage to chilled as well as frozen, so it works with everything. But again, you can put some points in here. I really like this. This is to make the build like super tanky. I put 2 points into warmth. How it works on bosses is we have pretty good survivability already. This is actually what happened over here is the Butcher. So with the Butcher hits incredibly hard. That's one boss. This and like the Lilith Blood Waves if you're doing the pit. Those things will be something that I would say you're probably not going to be able to sit in and tank consistently, even though you have infinite IceArmor with the build. As far as warmth goes, it lets you kind of bounce back. I really like it. If you put 3 points into it, it's 12% healing as long as there's a burnt enemy, and we're going to get burned because we run the fire enchant. So really good stuff indeed. And then over here we're running this extra movement speed when we crit, and that's going to give us more movement speed for more crit. And then enemies will deal less damage after being crit. And then as far as the key passives goes, I want to say there's a lot of options here. If you want to run Overflowing and you want to run the ultimate, that's another option I've seen people do. You can also run Avalanche. You can even run Shatter. I like Veer's Mastery. It gives you damage reduction. It has this like while charged crits have a chance to arc the damage, but run whatever you want. Honestly, there's not really a really good key passive for this build. And then as far as the Paragon, so starting right off over here with Tactician, and then we're going to go move up into Frigid Fate with Control, and then we're going to get Enchantment Master Adept. And then we are going to go into Destruction with Burning Instinct. This is the most important one because it's going to give us a lot of crit in the build. And then we're going to be doing Searing Heat with Flame Feeder. And then we are going to go into Ceaseless Conduit with Exploit. and then we're going to do Icefall and Conjurer. And even though like our conjurations don't deal damage, the increased duration increases our damage, because the more conjurations we have, the more movement speed, mana, as well as damage that we will be outputting. So it's really good here. And then we're also going to be taking the Icefall legendary node. Again, everything will be pinned in case you guys do need it, but I wanted to show you guys like here, let me just go ahead and move this out of the way just so you guys can see how incredibly tanky this build is. Right now, the most optimal way to play is really on the tier 7s, but the bosses do still have a lot of HP. But you can see I'm just holding perfectly still. I don't need to do anything because this IceArmor refresh is just so incredibly powerful. We have 100% uptime, and if we take damage in between, it's totally fine because we're going to be bouncing back because we activate the IceArmor, and any HP that we take in terms of damage, 8% per second is pretty massive. But these bosses may take a little bit more time. Don't expect to like one-shot things. Heck, you guys already saw the Tormented Durail. That thing just melts instantly. These bosses tend to have an incredible amount of HP. Same thing with the pit bosses, but I probably wouldn't recommend doing the pit in general. It's no longer like a thing where I would say, yeah, you definitely want to focus in on the pit. But anyways, again, everything will be linked down below in the pin. But let me know, guys, what you think of this build. I think so far this is the best Sorceress build I have played this season. And I want to say, as far as like just things in general this season, I like the unstoppable 100% of the time. I miss it. It really feels like you're playing Diablo 3, where you're just immune to everything. Like, you don't get affected by any crowd controls, and it just makes things so much more smooth. So try it out. Let me know your thoughts. If there's any other ways to improve the build, definitely let me know down below, and I will update you guys in the future if we do need an update. But keep in mind, all my stuff was not perfect in terms of gear, but in terms of like the build over here, once we are able to swap, because right now I'm running Storm Swell, once we swap the Tarashas, once you get 100% crit, which will require greater affix, you're going to need to get that greater affix movement speed. You're going to need to get a lot of stuff really high up there, but once you get there, I think this build will be absolutely top tier, because we're just missing out on the extra damage. And again, you can still snapshot with this build. But that's going to wrap it up. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit subscribe, turn the bell if you want to see it. And again, everything will be pinned down below, or if you're watching this on TikTok, well, it'll be in the link in the bio. But anyways, take care, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.